If you know me, you know that meetings are my jam. So today I'm going to try something a little different. In lieu of a traditional guest, I'm going to share a coaching session that I did with a prior client about how to improve her meetings. Today's guest is Jill Molee. Jill is Director of Counseling and College Advisor at College Prep 360. And I have been so lucky to have Jill as a client, and I am so grateful that she was willing to experiment with me for this on-air coaching call. So if you would like to watch more on-air coaching sessions, please drop me a note in the comments below letting me know. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I share new episodes and other tips for managers every week. Now here's the conversation. Thank you so much, Jill, for willing to be my experiment here with an on-air coaching call. I'm really excited to talk with you because I love you and your team, and I've gotten to work with you in the past, and it's just such a pleasure to have you on today.
I'm so excited to be here. Yeah.
I should give some framing here, which is that we're really going to focus in on your meetings. So to help us understand the context of all these meetings that you're having, can you give us a little bit of lay of the land of how big is your team? What's your role within the team? How long have you been there? Kind of what industry or what's the context of your business? Just so we can kind of understand the kinds of meetings that you are typically having.
I am in education consulting. I am at the director level of my company, and right now managing 14 people. Everyone I work with is client facing. Let's put it that way. Everyone I manage is client facing, which is important to know. One is not directly working like with students, but is client facing. So client relations coordinator, and the rest are directly working with students.
Amazing. And of the people who are client facing, is there any hierarchy within them, or they are all the front line and none of them have direct reports either?
None of them have direct reports.
Okay.
No.
Great. Awesome. Okay. And then you have an awesome boss.
I do have an awesome boss. Yes, I do.
And you have team members at the other director levels that you collaborate with?
Yes. Strong thought partnership. Yes. I need them. They're great, especially in a virtual world.
Is everyone virtual, or some of you are in office sometimes?
No, we are 100% virtual, which is interesting management style. I have been with this company for it'll be my fifth cycle going through. So fifth year, but I managed virtually for about 4 years before that. So it's a little bit different managing virtually.
Tell us about your meetings. What do you think is going really well? And maybe we'll just start with that. What do you think is going really well in your meetings?
I think for my meetings, I definitely have hit my stride a lot with your help. I can say that over, the course of the years. In terms of, I have more of direction of the formatting of the meetings and the agenda structure, and I keep an open agenda. So I add things to the agenda, and then I welcome if people have agenda items, because I think that helps them. They have a voice, and I set aside time for those questions. But I really have a format where I do housekeeping in the beginning, anything urgent, any updates, anything that I think they should be working on, and then kind of a tracking doc as to like follow up. Did everyone do what they're supposed to do as of February 5th, we had to send out documents to families. Did that happen? That type of thing. Just take a temperature. And then I typically open up my meetings. We meet every other week, every other Wednesday, 2 questions, because the thought partnership is required. And I don't meet one-on-one with everyone on a regular basis. So they do save their questions. That's taken me some time to do as well, to get them. If they email on me on Monday, I'm like, if this is not urgent, bring it on Wednesday, because I have learned how to manage my inbox and like kind of manage my time better with that. I used to jump into every call.
I'm so proud of you for that, because this is one of those things that is so hard for managers to do, right? We want to be responsive. We want to make sure that our team members have all the answers and they can keep doing their work. And it's so distracting for us and exhausting for us. So I'm so proud of you that you've made that shift and you have trained yourself to not jump in, and also helped cultivate that practice of your team to not send you things all the time, but to save them or put them into that document and bring them to that meeting. So bravo. That's awesome.
It's painful, but it works.
If you had a tip for others who wanted to do that, is there anything from your experience in changing that behavior that you found to be particularly helpful?
If anyone knows me, I am not a good delegator, and I also try to just, move quickly. So I have definitely trained myself to prioritize better. Like if I get a message, I think to myself, what is the day of the week? what's the month of the year? Is this our busy cycle? Is this really urgent? I have 3 more phone calls. Maybe getting up and walking for 30 minutes is better than taking this call. I just prioritize kind of my time a little better over what the issue is. Of course, if it's, urgent, I just get on the phone and I might walk while I'm on the phone. But I'm learning to kind of take care of myself a little bit better, because if I'm not at my best, I've learned I can't manage. That would be the key thing, is just kind of a check-in. Like, if I take this meeting, am I going to be okay because I'm client facing as well. So am I going to be okay for the next 3 meetings where I have to talk to students? Like, what's this what's it going to do for me? I guess preserving my inner momentum or peace during the day. Yeah.
Next question about good things you have going on. So you said you have like a document and a template and an agenda structure. How did you do that? Like, what does that look like? Is it in a Google Doc? Is it an internal system? Is it the same document every single time that just keeps getting updated?
Right. So it's the same document every time that's getting updated, but there's different trackers for different things. So I manage client relations. So we have a tracker for issues, which is kind of it's a live Google Doc spreadsheet that we just use to track, and so we can see history. So like today I had an email about something and I'm like, I need to go look at the history of that. And it's coming back again. My agendas are Google Docs, meeting notes shared with the team, and they can see if I put something new, and I want them to look at the agenda beforehand. Everything's just really through Google Docs. We are creating a CRM. So that's going to change a little bit, but for most part, it's Google Docs.
I always love learning about different meeting techniques inside different teams, because everyone has figured out a system that works for them. So very cool. Okay. Now let's shift. What are some of the challenges that you feel like, or, if you could wave a magic wand and fix some of the biggest pain points in your meetings, what would those be?
Besides the client relations piece, the counselors that I work with, I think the hardest part is that I consider them all experts and value them. And at times they think I'm just going to talk for an hour and I want them to talk. So there are times where I have to say, I am talking about all the issues, or talking about like my college list or what's going on with this student. I need you to kind of engage. So, and I don't know if they're just, I've learned people are afraid or intimidated by, I don't know what I don't know, or asking a question in front of a group. So I just kind of ease them into that. I ask pointed questions more. So if everyone's being very quiet during, say, I have open office hours as well. And so every Tuesday, and if everyone shows up and no one has anything to say, I push them a little bit. And so it does help. And they are understanding that it's okay to share and ask questions.
Okay. I have 2 questions to follow up. First, for your office hours, is that optional? People can choose to come if they have things, but they don't have to.
It's optional. People choose to come if they don't want to. It's always the same people.
Oh, so interesting.
Yes, that's a problem. I mean, not a problem with them coming, a problem with people not coming.
The other question I have is, have you tried different approaches for getting, like, different ways of getting people to share their questions so they can be anonymous, or, sharing them in ways that maybe don't put them on the spot?
Yeah, we have. I mean, they can always come to me, which they do privately. If it's something that they're just like they made a mistake, that's something that they would probably come to me privately about. I have not figured it out why some are open to share everything and some are like, I'm just here to listen. Like, that's impossible. You have 10 students. And then I just might say, so, Sue, like, how's your roster going? Like, are your college lists set? I might have to call out a little bit in a nice way, just kind of like flow it in. Like, what about you, Sue? Like, are you doing okay? Kind of just like, oh yeah, I'm doing great. Like, so I don't really put her on the spot, but I make her realize, like, bring her into the group. But it's tough. Virtual is tough because I don't have a chance to like go into their office and just, it's all kind of developing that together.
Yeah. And in those times when you're all together, is there a thought partnership between the counselors as well? Or is it mostly you one-on-one to them, even within a group conversation?
The whole purpose of my meetings are thought partnership. I don't want to be the only person talking.
And so you want the counselors to talk with each other also?
I will actually, if someone says, I have this student, here's the profile, we're looking at a college list, and that's what we do. Like, they'll bring it up on the screen. I will purposely not react. So like, and wait for someone else to talk. And if no one talks, I'll say, who else can answer? Like someone else, like I'll say like, Beth, you have a student similar. What does their college list look like? Like, because I know everyone's students. So I'll kind of make them engage, because otherwise it's just me. It's just the Jill show for an hour and it's just me talking, and I don't know everything. I know they all think I do, but I don't. And I learn in those meetings. Those are for me too. And I tell them that. So I want them to know that, like if something great, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I learned something today. Like, I'm not, just because I kind of manage the deliverables and the process doesn't mean I'm the only one that knows everything.
Yeah. I mean, this is a challenge for a lot of managers, right? If their team members see them as being the expert or somehow more knowledgeable, and so they don't want to say anything, silly in front of their boss who is, the expert. I'm wondering if you've talked to your team just about like why you set the meetings with this structure and why you specifically do it as a group, and not like you could meet one-on-one with each person and just not have them together, but like what the magic is that you're looking for to help them have that frame when they're entering the conversation. So they understand that it's not just a secondary thing that they're sitting there. It's actually the primary thing.
Well, the one thing I talk about a lot is community and building that. And it's in a virtual world. That's like always my number one priority with my counselors. I tell them that all the time in the meetings, building community. What else do you need from me? How can I help you? In the meetings, I'm asking that as well. Like, what can we do better? Or somebody might chat me, in the chat and be like, can you stay on for 10 minutes after this? I just want to be as accessible as possible in that way. But I explain to them that as a collective group, we are very knowledgeable and that we need each other. And our company is a team-based approach. There's no one person that can do the whole thing themselves. And so I just constantly talk about team.
I love how you put it like right at the forefront. And one of the things that I work with companies when I do specifically around meeting things is when they have a certain kind of meeting that's really consistent, which is kind of what you're describing, where people are coming, they're bringing their issues with their students, and the group is kind of there to help with thought partnership, is to give it a certain kind of name. So I don't know if you guys have a special name for this kind of meeting, but to give it a certain kind of name so everyone knows that's exactly what this meeting is, and then give it a very clear kind of objective statement, which describes kind of what this meeting is really intended to do. And then that goes at the beginning of every single one of the agendas for that meeting. So everyone is always looking at the agenda and they're seeing that objective statement that says exactly what you've already described. Like, this meeting is about thought partnership, learning from each other, helping each other solve problems, and being, smarter as a collective than we individually are. And that just helps to kind of soak into people's brains what the things you're already saying. Because sometimes when we say it out loud, it's like a nice, oh, of course, it's nice to say. But when it's like documented, then it becomes real.
Yeah, that's a great idea, because they'll go into the meeting, understand that it's a collective group, right? It's all of us together. I hope they feel like that.
I'm sure they do, because you're a great manager.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a different kind of meeting. Is there another type of meeting that you have?
Well, I have the group counselor meetings every other week, and then I have the college list office hours every week. And then I have a one-on-one every Tuesday with my client relations coordinator. And those are troubleshooting. Those, we always have problems, right? Maybe it might be like hours problem or a billing problem, or someone like doesn't like an essay, or I don't know, whatever it is, or how we're going to communicate a new initiative to a family, or what our March email blast might look like. And those are one-on-one with her. And funny, because right before this, she sent me 2 emails with other people copied on them, which was fine. And I just replied, we can do this. This is the deliverable. This is what we can talk about. Put it on the agenda for Tuesday. Today's Thursday. Doesn't have to get done. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it didn't have to get done right away. And I'm still training her and kind of letting her know that everything doesn't have to get done the minute it lands in our lap. Like, we have to have a thoughtful approach. I'm trying to teach her to just pause before responding to anything, because she is so very client facing, and we're just thoughtful about our approach. So I just said, don't worry about it. We can talk about this Tuesday. This is going to take me more than a minute to think about here.
That's another good reminder for folks too, is that when sometimes our first instinct to jump in on something isn't actually going to give us our best thinking. Like we actually need a little bit of space for something that's emergent. And if we have the time, we can take some time to like let it percolate, gather more information before we jump into a meeting and try to solve a problem. Do you find that across your different team members that those meetings are pretty consistent and go well? Or do you feel like it's more dependent on the issue, it's more dependent on the person?
The college list, the office hours, which are open-ended kind of, I have made a point of making sure everyone knows that this is for college lists only. Say we're talking and nobody has a college list, they'll ask permission. They'll say, I have a non-college list question. Can I ask it? Because what was happening is that they were coming that hour for everything. And then people who were there for the intended purpose weren't getting their college list questions read out. So I just quickly prioritize that. The other thing about those college list office hours this time of year, and I stopped them for about 2 months in the winter because we don't really need to have them, is that I find I did this on Tuesday. I ended it early. It's okay to end a meeting early, which is something I really had to learn. Like,
yes.
It doesn't mean it wasn't successful. It just means that it's over.
That's right. If you accomplish what you needed to, you don't need to grow the size of your fishbowl.
That is a hard thing to learn.
Yeah, especially because not only does it feel like, well, we have the time, we should use it, but also like that, to your point about people coming with other questions, like there's often more things to discuss, even if they're unrelated to the meeting. And so it's very easy to say, oh, well, we'll just stay on and we'll keep on talking about these other issues, when sometimes the people in the original meeting are not the people who need to be part of those other conversations. And so no one wants to leave early, even though the meeting is officially done. And so it's much better to end the meeting and then hop onto another call with just the person who needs to keep going.
Right. Or I'll say, well, we have the group counselor meeting tomorrow. Let's talk about it there.
Perfect.
The problem with that is I try to be as accessible as possible, almost to a fault. Sometimes, and I've really worked on that, is that I don't want them to think I don't care or don't have time because I'm saying we can do that tomorrow. I can kind of sometimes think to myself, should I have just answered it? Like, should I have just taken the 20 minutes? And I'm like, no, these 20 minutes, no. Like, that's not what we're here for. Yeah.
And also, which I think you're doing a good job, and maybe you want to do it even more, is being really explicit about why you're saying we can't talk about this now, or why you're choosing occasionally to say we can talk about this now. Because mostly for our team members, it's actually just about consistency and understanding the expectations. And what gets really confusing is when, like, sometimes it seems like, oh, well, today Jill was in a good mood and she answered my questions. And then, like, next week I brought questions and she was just like, save it for tomorrow. And I don't know what am I supposed to bring them? Am I not supposed to bring them? Like, I guess I'll just bring them every time. And then she'll tell me what I'm supposed to do with them. Right. Like, that's what we don't want, is we don't want people to be confused or to feel like, you know, some days we care about them and some days we don't. Some days we have time for them and some days we're too busy. Like, what we want them to feel is, I know the process. I know the expectations. And if something's urgent, we have a path for that. And if something's not urgent, we have our standard practice for that. And so the more you can communicate exactly why you're saying, I know we have 20 minutes right now, but we have tomorrow's meeting that's specifically for this particular activity. And so we're going to follow our procedure, which is bring that topic to tomorrow's conversation and we'll tackle it then. Right? Unless it's urgent, then we just tackle it in our standard way. And that continues to just reinforce for people, oh, okay, I got it. Like, Jill has a system and it keeps everybody on the same page.
Right. Because I don't want to waste anyone's time. And, like, who doesn't want 20 minutes back to their day? Those are the three set meetings I have right now.
Awesome. All right, let's talk about this office hours thing where people sometimes are showing up consistently and other people are never showing up. What do you see as the challenge with that? Like, why is that a problem if it's optional that some folks don't come?
So most of the employees that we work with are contractors. And if it's optional, they don't get paid. And so it's frustrating because, and I'm working really hard with one of the counselors, is that she doesn't come. I'm assuming that's the reason, but no problem like sending me an email on Friday about a college list. And I said to her, that's a great question to bring to the college list office hours. And so then they showed up on this past Tuesday. I let them go first. I said, oh, you have a question. Remember, you have a question for me. And they're like, oh yeah. So I am trying to get them to see the value of going, because if they see the value, it's worth your time if you learn something. There's different ways to be compensated at work, right? There's professional development, learning, creating relationships, and then there's pay. So, and I'm sensitive to that. I get that, but contractors are very difficult to work with in that case. Yeah.
And I think in general, when we make things optional, there can be a feeling of it's less important, right? I'm not needed. I have other things I want to prioritize over this. And so sometimes when we're making things optional, the intent is actually to say, like, you don't have to come every week, but we actually do want you to come sometimes. And that sometimes could be because you have a specific question. It could also because this is just another chance for you to learn. It's another chance for you to connect with your team members. It's another chance for you to connect with me. And so we might need to like rethink what optional means and communicate out when something truly, truly, truly is optional. And you're just like, I really don't care if you ever come. It's only here for you if you need it. And something that's optional where it's like, we hope you're going to come, somewhat consistently once a month, right? It doesn't have to be every single time, but we do expect you to occasionally attend. It just doesn't have to be every single time.
Yeah. Because everybody will have a college list.
Exactly.
So I can't imagine that people don't have questions. Yeah.
Exactly. And everyone has something that they can contribute to the conversation to their colleagues. Right? As you were saying before, like people can share their thoughts with each other, and that creates better community, better relationships, helps everybody learn. So there is something valuable about having people come occasionally, even if it's quote optional.
And the best thing I learn is when I'll hear like two counselors met afterwards and talked, or, they do that without me. And I'm like, that's good. Yay. Like you're using your resources. You should be doing that.
Yes. I hope you celebrate that during one of the meetings where everyone got to see you celebrate that they were connecting offline and making that happen.
I'll say it. I'll say, oh, Stephanie and Eli, like they connected the other day. That was really cool. They were talking about this. You guys want to share what you learned about engineering program at Purdue or whatever the issue was? And like, oh yeah, we met. We share twins and one's doing this and one's doing that. And so it's really neat when that happens because I'm like, it's working.
Yes, yeah. Good. And the more we celebrate our team members and what they're doing, the more they will continue to do that and role model it for others. So fabulous. Okay, but we have to wrap up here, Jill. So can you tell us about a great manager that you worked for and what made this person such a fabulous boss?
I will say before I answer this question, the way I have identified a really good manager is from all the managers that I've had over 30 years that weren't so great. Right? Because that's how you can identify, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I would say one that gives you the space to like grow in whatever role you have and also respects like kind of how I try to mimic it is wants to hear what you have to say about something or a topic or a concern, decision before they give their opinion. I have definitely learned like the beauty of being silent for a little bit from my manager and just listening and understanding and then just having a thoughtful conversation about it. But definitely the space to like kind of figure it out on my own a little bit and know that if I make a mistake, I have the room to pivot from it.
Is there a particular person you're thinking about?
Of course. Yeah. My current employer. Yes.
Yeah. So we got to give a shout out to her.
Yeah. She definitely gives me room and grace and also makes me feel respected. Honestly. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Really and I know her well, and she is also fabulous. I mean, your whole company. I love getting to work with all of you.
Yeah. I mean, I could say more about her, but we have to close.
Thank you again so much, Jill. I'm going to ask you one final question to put you on the spot here, which is there something we talked about today that you want to carry forward with you as you return to work?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to write a statement on my agendas, like purpose and why we're there. I love that. Because then every time it's open, they'll see it. No, I love that because I can say everything I want to say it. I don't know if they're listening, but they don't hear everything. But I love the idea of it being in print.
Congratulations again on doing so many amazing things with your team, being such a fabulous manager. And thank you for sharing with me today and allowing me to run this experiment with you.
This is fun. Sure.